What if I told you that the difference between the life you're dreaming about and the life you're currently living is exactly 60 minutes? Not 60 years, not 60 months, 60 minutes, 1 hour. That's it. That's the whole gap. And right now, this very morning, you are standing on one side of that gap, deciding, without even realizing you're deciding. Which version of yourself gets to walk into today? Stop for a second, really stopping. Because somewhere in your life right now, there is an alarm clock that you have been silencing for months, maybe years. And every single time your hand reaches out in the dark and taps that snooze button, you are not just buying yourself 9 more minutes of sleep. You are casting a vote for the person you don't actually want to become, a vote against the life you keep telling your friends you're working on. And the terrifying part, nobody sends you a receipt. Nobody warns you. The bill doesn't come due today or tomorrow or even next month. It comes due in 5 years when you're staring at the same walls, the same bank account, the same tired reflection, wondering how time slipped through your fingers like sand you never even tried to hold on to. I need you to hear this, not as another motivational sentence you'll scroll past, but as a truth that has been waiting for you patiently for a long, long time. Every morning there is a courtroom, and you are both the defendant and the judge. The evidence being presented is simple. What did you do with the first hour you were given today? Did you fight for it, or did you surrender it without a struggle? Because here's the part almost nobody tells you. Losing feels comfortable. Losing feels like a warm blanket. Losing whispers, just 5 more minutes. And it sounds so reasonable, so harmless, until you add up every one of those 5-minute surrenders across a year, and you realize you've handed over entire days, entire weeks, entire seasons of your one and only life to a version of comfort that was never actually making you happy. Let me ask you something, and I want you to actually answer it, not just read past it. If somebody followed you around for the next 30 mornings with a camera, recording exactly how you wake up, what you do in that first sacred hour, how you speak to yourself in the mirror, would that footage make you proud? Would you want your children to watch it one day and learn how to build a life from it? Or would you like to burn the tape? Because here's the brutal, beautiful truth hiding underneath all of this. Your mornings are not a small detail of your life. They are blueprints. They are architecture. Everything you build in the afternoon, everything you accomplish by nightfall was already decided in those first 60 minutes when the world was quiet, and it was just you, your choice, and the ceiling above your bed. Some of you have been sleepwalking through that decision for so long you forgot it was even a decision at all. You think waking up late is just how you are. You think hitting snooze 5 times is just your personality. No, it's not your personality. It's a pattern. And patterns, unlike personalities, can be broken. I'm not here this morning to comfort you. I'm here to wake something up inside you that has been asleep far longer than your body ever was. Because somewhere underneath the tiredness, underneath the excuses, underneath the I'll start Monday and the I'm just not a morning person, there is a version of you that is hungry to stop losing, hungry to stop watching other people build the life you quietly know you were capable of building too. That version of you didn't die. It's just been buried under 1,000 small surrenders. And today, right now, in the next few minutes, we are going to start digging it back out. Let's talk honestly about the cycle, because it always starts the exact same way. It starts with a little bit of discomfort. That's the price of admission, and nobody escapes paying it. You want to wake up earlier? Fine. But that means going to bed earlier, which means saying no to 1 more hour of scrolling, 1 more episode, 1 more late night distraction that feels good for 12 minutes and costs you the whole next morning. Success was never about some secret formula hidden behind a paywall. Half the time, success is just refusing to be lazy in the specific moment when laziness is the easiest, most tempting option on the table. It's choosing the harder 5 minutes now, so you don't have to live with the harder 5 years later. And when you finally do get up, not crawl up, not drag yourself up, but genuinely rise, something remarkable happens. You start to notice there's always another gear, always another level underneath the one you thought was your ceiling. You get up, and instead of numbly reaching for your phone, you actually think, what in my life is out of order today that I have the power to fix? That question, asked honestly, at 6 in the morning, in the quiet, before the world starts shouting its opinions at you, that question is a door. And here is the part that separates the people who change their lives from the people who talk about changing their lives. The door opening is not the same thing as walking through it. You can have the realization. You can feel the chill of truth running down your spine. But if you close your eyes and roll back over, the door shuts and it waits for you again tomorrow. A little more tired, a little more skeptical than you'll ever actually use it. Let me put a number on what you're really losing, because vague ideas don't move people. Numbers do. If you sleep in just 1 extra hour every single day instead of rising and attacking what's in front of you, by the end of 1 month, you have surrendered roughly 30 hours. That's more than an entire day and night, gone, not to rest, but to retreat. Extend that across a year, and you're talking about losing nearly 2 full weeks of waking life to an extra hour you never even needed. You just wanted it because it was easier than wanting something better for yourself. 2 weeks, gone. Not spent building your body, not spent building your business, not spent building your relationships or your peace of mind, just gone. Traded for 9 extra minutes of unconsciousness at a time. Now here's where I want to shift the conversation, because hearing the cost is only half the battle. The other half is what you do the instant you understand it. And this is where most people fracture into 2 groups. Group 1 hears this message, feels a flicker of fire, and lets it fade by lunchtime. Group 2 lets the fire catch and lets it burn all the way down to the bone until it rearranges how they see every single morning for the rest of their lives. I didn't sit down to talk to Group 1 today. I'm talking to the ones who are done, truly done. Not done in the I'll try harder way that never sticks, but is done in the way that changes the entire wiring of a person. Because some of you reading or listening to this right now are living at 70% when your life is demanding 120. Some of you are coasting at 80%, telling yourself that's respectable. When deep down, you already know it isn't your ceiling, it's your excuse. And here's the thing about giving up. It rarely happens in one dramatic moment. Nobody wakes up and decides in one instant to abandon their dream. It happens inches. It happens on the 1-yard line when the finish line is so close you could almost touch it. And exhaustion convinces you that quitting now is wisdom instead of what it actually is, surrender disguised as self-care. I want you to understand something about your story, because I think you've been reading it wrong. You keep treating yesterday like it's the final chapter, like whatever happened. The mistake, the failure, the embarrassment, the wasted years sealed the book shut and handed you the verdict. But that's not how this works. Yesterday, there was a chapter, not the ending. The final chapter of your life has not been written yet. And here's the wild, liberating part. You are holding the pen right now, this very morning, whether you feel ready or not. What happened in the past cannot be edited. But what happens starting in the next hour, that's still wet ink. That's still yours to shape. So no more of this heavy-headed, sighing into Monday mentality. I understand that life is hard. I'm not going to stand here and pretend otherwise, because pretending insults your intelligence and disrespects what you've actually survived. Life gets heavy. Life throws punch you didn't see coming. But hard is not the same thing as impossible, and tiredness is not the same thing as finished. Right now, I need you to shift your stance. Get your feet planted. Get your chin up. Because this is not the morning to lie down. This is the morning to get into position and fight for the version of your life you've been quietly praying for in the dark. Here's the truth. Almost nobody says out loud, you cannot rewrite what has already happened. The version of you that made those choices yesterday is gone, untouchable, locked behind glass. But the version of you that gets to choose what happens next, that one is fully alive, fully capable, and standing right here in this very sentence. So many people spend their entire existence wanting to play big, wanting the big house, the big impact, the big transformation. but they keep leaving an escape hatch open. They keep it optional. And the second things get difficult, they quietly ease that dream back down onto the table, telling themselves they'll pick it back up later when it's more convenient. But dreams don't wait around for convenience. They wither while you're waiting for the perfect moment that was never going to arrive on its own. Instant. And I mean the exact instant. You stop treating your goal as optional and start treating it as non-negotiable. Everything shifts. You slide every excuse off the table. You stop leaving yourself a comfortable exit. And when you want your success, the way you want your next breath, not politely, not casually, but urgently, desperately, like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. That's the moment things actually start to move. Today can be the day you finally get up and outwork the person you were yesterday. Today can be the day everything quietly, permanently changes, not because of some external miracle, but because you decided in this ordinary hour to stop being ordinary about it. Now let's go somewhere a little more uncomfortable, because growth always lives on the other side of comfort. There is a war happening inside you right now that most people never even name out loud. Somewhere in your life, you already know exactly what you want. You can feel it. It tugs you in quiet moments, in the shower, in traffic, right before sleep. And instead of chasing it, you become fluent in the art of arguing against your own desire. You look at the number on the scale and you shrink a little. You look at your bank account and you flinch. You think about the work you do all day and you feel a small, persistent ache of this, isn't it? Maybe you're carrying wounds nobody else can see. Old trauma, old mistakes, old versions of pain that still echo when the house goes quiet. And instead of using all of that as fuel, you've let it become the story you tell yourself about why you can't. But here's what I need you to really absorb, slowly, like it's being written directly onto the walls of your mind. Your past pain is not a life sentence. It's raw material. Every single ounce of struggle you've survived can either be the excuse that keeps you small, or it can be the exact fire that forges the strongest version of you that has ever existed. The choice of which one it becomes is not made at once. It's made every single morning in that first hour when you decide whether today's story continues the pattern of yesterday or finally breaks it. Because your life was never promised to be a straight line. Nobody handed you a map with a clean, uninterrupted path from where you started to where you're going. It bends. It doubles back. It throws detours at you that feel, in the moment, like punishment, but that later reveals themselves as the exact training you needed for the mountain still ahead. The people you admire, the ones whose success looks so effortless from the outside, they didn't walk a straight line either. They just refused to stop walking when the line curved. So this morning, I want you to stop measuring your worth by how smooth your road has been and start measuring it by how relentlessly you keep moving despite the curves. Because the moment you stop comparing your winding path to someone else's highlight reel, you free yourself to actually focus on the only thing that has ever mattered. The next right step, taken today, taken now, taken with everything you've got. Let's talk about fear for a moment, because fear is the quiet architect behind almost every unfulfilled morning. You tell yourself you're waiting for more confidence, more certainty, more proof that you won't fail before you finally commit fully to the thing you want. But confidence was never the prerequisite for action. It's the reward that shows up after your act, over and over, until repetition finally convinces your nervous system that you can be trusted. Nobody starts a new discipline feeling like a master of it. Every single person who now wakes up before the sun without struggling once woke up exactly like you, groggy, doubtful, tempted to quit before they even began. The difference between them and the person still hitting snooze isn't some magical reservoir of willpower they were born with. It's that they simply kept showing up on the mornings when showing up felt pointless, until pointless mornings turned into a pattern. And that pattern turned into a completely different person. And failure, real, honest failure, is not the opposite of success. It is the tuition you pay for it. Every person you've ever admired for their discipline, their empire, their peace of mind, has a graveyard of failed attempts behind them that nobody ever shows you in the highlight reel. They failed the diet before they found the one that was stuck. They failed the business before the one that finally worked. They set the alarm and ignored it more mornings than they'd like to admit before something inside them finally clicked into place. So, if you are currently in a season of failing, congratulations, quietly, because it means you are actually in the arena, attempting something that matters, instead of standing safely on the sidelines where nothing is ever risked and nothing is ever built. Here's something I need you to write down. Somewhere you'll actually see it again. A dream without a goal attached to it is just a wish, and wishes don't build empires. It feels good to dream. It costs nothing to imagine the version of your life where everything finally works out. But imagination without structure evaporates the second real life interrupts it. The alarm, the traffic, the bills, the noise of other people's expectations. What separates a dream from a destiny is a goal small enough to act on today, specific enough that you can't hide from whether you did it or not. Not, I want to get healthier. Instead, I am waking up at 6 tomorrow and I am walking for 20 minutes before I touch my phone. That's not poetry. That's a plan. And plans, unlike dreams, actually survive contact with a Tuesday morning. Your mind, whether you've noticed it or not, is being conditioned every single day by the first thoughts you allow yourself to think and the first actions you allow yourself to take. If the first thing you do is reach for a screen full of other people's curated lives, you are quietly training your brain to measure your worth against a highlight reel. But if the first thing you do is move your body, speak a promise to yourself out loud, or simply sit in silence and decide who you're choosing to be today, you are training an entirely different mind, one that trusts itself, one that doesn't need external validation to know it's capable, because it proved that capability to itself before breakfast. This is why morning rituals matter so much more than people give them credit. Not because there's something mystical about waking up at 5 instead of 8, but because a ritual is a repeated act of self-respect. It's you keeping a promise to yourself in a world that will spend all day tempting you to break promises to yourself in 1,000 tiny ways. And it doesn't end when the sun goes down. What you do in the evening, how you wind down, what you allow into your mind in those last waking minutes sets the tone for the morning that follows just as powerfully as the morning sets the tone for the day. Sleep deprived on purpose because mindless scrolling isn't resting. It's a slow theft from your own future. Somewhere in all of this striving, don't lose the simplest instruction of all. Be a good person while you're becoming a great one. Ambition without kindness curdles into something hollow, something that impresses strangers but hurts the people closest to you. The version of yourself you're building in these quiet mornings should be someone your family recognizes as gentler, not harsher. Someone who has more patience to give, not less. Because true strength was never about how hard you can push others. It's about how much peace you can carry inside yourself while still pushing hard toward your goals. I want you to notice something about the word someday. It has quietly become the most dangerous word in your vocabulary. Someday I'll start waking up early. Someday I'll chase that dream. Someday I'll become the person I know I'm capable of being. Someday is a myth. It's a comfortable lie your mind tells you, so you don't have to feel the discomfort of starting today. Someday never arrives on the calendar because it isn't a real day. It's a permission slip to keep postponing. The only day that has ever existed, the only day anyone has ever actually acted within is today. This one, the one you're living inside right now, whether you feel ready or not. And urgency, real urgency, not manufactured panic, comes from finally understanding that time is not a renewable resource. You will not get this exact morning back. You will not get this exact version of your one life back. That should not terrify you into paralysis. It should ignite you into motion. The most successful, most fulfilled people you'll ever study didn't have more hours in their day than you. They simply refused to treat their hours as disposable. They treated each morning like it mattered because they understood at a level most people never reach. That a life is nothing more than a collection of mornings stacked one on top of another until one day they add up to either regret or fulfillment. Courage is what bridges the gap between understanding all of this and actually living it. Not the dramatic, cinematic kind of courage people imagine. The kind where you leap off a cliff into the unknown with trumpets playing. The real kind of courage is quieter and far more demanding. It's the courage to get out of bed in the morning. You don't feel like it. The courage to say no to the shortcut when nobody would ever know you took it. The courage to keep going after the version of success you actually want instead of settling for the version that's easier to explain to people who never understood the dream in the first place. So let's deconstruct what success actually is, because I think you've been selling a distorted picture of it your whole life. Success was never a finish line you cross once and then rest forever. It's not a mansion, a number in a bank account, or a headline. Success is the compounding result of 1,000 ordinary mornings where you chose discipline over comfort, even when nobody was watching, even when there was no applause, even when it would have been so easy to just not. It's built in silence, in repetition, in the unglamorous middle of a Tuesday where nothing dramatic happens except you showing up again, exactly like you promised yourself you would. This is the moment, right here, where I need you to make a decision. Not for next year, not for next month, but for tomorrow morning. Not someday, tomorrow. Decide right now what your first hour is going to look like, and decide it with the seriousness of someone who finally understands what that hour is actually worth. Now the talking is over. Now comes the part nobody wants to film because it isn't pretty, it isn't quotable, and it doesn't fit neatly into a highlight reel. This is the part where you actually put your hands on the work, where the floor is cold under your feet before the heater kicks on, where your muscles ache from yesterday and your mind begs you for one more hour, and you answer that begging with silence, and you move anyway. Picture it, 4:50 in the morning. The street outside is empty except for a single delivery truck idling 2 blocks down. The room is dark except for the small glow of a phone screen shutting off because you refuse to let it pull you in. Your feet hit the floor before your brain is finished, deciding whether it agrees with the decision. That gap, that half second between the body moving and the mind still arguing, that gap is where the entire game is won or lost. Not in some grand speech, not in some Instagram captions about grinding. Right there, in the dark, in the cold, in the half second nobody will ever see. This is the shift, not in a mood, not a vibe you scroll into, a structural change in how you operate, built one repetition at a time until it stops being a decision and starts being simply who you are. Discipline was never about motivation, and if you've been waiting to feel ready, you've been waiting for a ghost. Motivation is a spark. It flares bright and hot and burns out within minutes of being tested by real resistance. Discipline is the wood stove you build around that spark, so the fire keeps burning long after the spark forgot why it started. You do not need to feel like doing the work. You need a system so ruthless, so automatic, that feeling becomes irrelevant to whether the work gets done. So let's talk about the grind, honestly, without the poetry wrapped around it. The grind is repetition that stops being exciting somewhere around day 11. It's showing up on the day you got terrible news. It's showing up the morning after the fight with someone you love, when your chest is still tight and your eyes are still red, because the work doesn't pause its schedule to accommodate your pain. It simply waits, patient and indifferent, for you to decide whether you're the kind of person who shows up anyway. The people who actually change their lives are not the ones who never feel like quitting. They are the ones who feel like quitting constantly and simply refuse to let that feeling cast a vote. Here's a philosophy worth carving into the wall of your mind. Outcomes are unpredictable, but effort is entirely, completely yours. You cannot control whether the meeting goes your way, whether the market shifts against you, or whether the people around you understand what you're building before it's finished. But you can control whether you showed up fully, whether you gave the work everything you had in the hour you were given, whether you looked yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and knew, without needing anyone else's approval, that you didn't waste it. Chase the effort with everything you've got and let the outcome answer on its own schedule. The moment you start measuring your worth by outcomes you don't control, you hand your peace of mind to circumstances that were never yours to begin with. Let's talk about the specific mechanics of resilience, because resilience isn't a personality trait you either have or don't. It's a muscle, and muscles are built through controlled damage followed by recovery. Every time life knocks you down and you get back up, you are not surviving in some abstract sense. You are literally thickening the tissue of your character. The setback that flattened you last year is precisely the reason the setback this year barely slows your stride. Pain, processed correctly, doesn't just heal. It calcifies into armor. But pain avoided, pain numbed, pain scrolled away on the phone at midnight instead of confronted. That pain doesn't disappear. It waits, it compounds, and it shows up later, heavier, at the worst possible moment, because you never actually did the work of turning it into strength. So here is the strategy. Stripped of all sentiment, control the controllables ruthlessly every single morning. Your effort, controllable. Your attitude in the first 60 seconds after something goes wrong, controllable. Whether you speak to yourself like a coach or like a critic when you drop the ball, controllable. Whether you show up to the next rep, the next call, the next attempt, controllable. Everything else, the economy, other people's opinions, the timing of when your work finally gets recognized, is noisy. Noise is loud precisely because it demands your attention while contributing nothing to your progress. The disciplined mind learns to hear the noise and keep walking, the same way a person can hear traffic outside their window without letting it interrupt their sleep. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that only shows up after weeks of doing the work when nobody is applauding you for it. Nobody posts about the version of you that woke up on day 43 of a new habit when the excitement wore off around day 9, and all that's left now is the choice, made quietly, again, without an audience. This is precisely the terrain where most people fold. Not because the work got harder. It didn't. It's because the emotional reward of novelty disappeared, and they mistook that missing spark for a sign they were on the wrong path, when really it was simply proof they'd entered the part of the process where character gets built instead of celebrated. Stay in that terrain. Stay past the point where it stops feeling new. That's where the separation happens between the people who talk about transformation and the people who actually become transformed. Let's talk about execution, because ideas are cheap and everybody has them. You have met dozens of people with brilliant ideas who are living exactly the same life they lived 5 years ago, because an idea without execution is just entertainment for the mind. A pleasant story you tell yourself at dinner parties that costs you nothing and builds you nothing. Execution is uncomfortable specifically because it's the point where the idea stops being safely theoretical and starts being measurably, embarrassingly real. You can fail at an idea. You cannot fail merely to have one. This is why so many people protect their ideas by never attempting them. As long as the idea stays untested, it stays perfect in their imagination, undefeated, unchallenged. But perfect and untested is worthless. Flawed and executed is the beginning of everything. So execute like this. Break the enormous, intimidating goal into something so small it insults your ambition, and then do that small thing today without negotiation. You don't need to write the whole book this morning. You need to write one page badly, immediately, before your mind has time to talk you into a better time that doesn't exist. You don't need to transform your entire body by Friday. You need to move for 20 minutes today. Sweat through the resistance and let that 20 minutes prove to your nervous system that you are, in fact, someone who follows through. Small, ugly, immediate action beats large, beautiful, delayed action every single time, because delayed action has an infinite number of ways to quietly die before it's ever attempted. Now let's address the resistance directly, because it has a name, and it shows up at the exact same moment every single time, right before you begin, right before the workout, right before the hard conversation, right before you hit. Send the thing you've been avoiding for weeks. That surge of resistance you feel isn't a sign you're doing the wrong thing. It's almost always the opposite. It's proof you're standing directly in front of something that actually matters. Because resistance doesn't bother showing up for things that don't threaten to change you. Easy, meaningless tasks never trigger this feeling. Only the ones capable of transforming your life do. So, when you feel that tightening in your chest before you start, don't interpret it as a stop sign. Interpret it as a landmark, telling you that you're exactly where growth lives. There is a version of you right now, sitting somewhere just past the edge of your comfort, fully built, fully capable, waiting for you to simply put in the repetitions required to meet them. That version isn't a fantasy. It's a mathematical certainty if you keep showing up, the same way a specific number of push-ups eventually builds a specific amount of strength, the same way a specific number of pages eventually becomes a finished manuscript. Consistency is not magical. It's arithmetic. Add enough disciplined mornings together, and the sum is a transformed life. There's no mysticism required, just the willingness to keep making deposits into a future you can't see yet, trusting the math even when the mirror hasn't caught up to the effort. Let's talk about the late nights that nobody glorifies, because they're not the cinematic kind of dramatic music playing. They're the quiet kind, sitting at a kitchen table long after everyone else has gone to sleep, running numbers, rewriting the same paragraph for the 8th time, practicing the same skill your friends stopped practicing years ago because they decided good enough was good enough. Nobody is coming to save you from the tedium of mastery. There is no shortcut through the boring middle. Every single person you've ever respected for their skill spent an enormous, unglamorous amount of time being mediocre at first, in private, where nobody was watching and no one would have blamed them for quitting. And here's the part that separates temporary effort from permanent transformation. Refusing to quit isn't a single decision made once in a moment of inspiration. It's a decision remade daily, sometimes hourly, especially on the days when quitting would be so easy nobody would even question it. You could quit today and tell people you got busy. You could quit today and blame the economy, your schedule, your circumstances, and every single person around you would nod sympathetically and never bring it up again. That's precisely why quitting is so tempting. It comes with a built-in alibi. But you already know, somewhere underneath the exhaustion, that the alibi wouldn't actually satisfy you. It would just be a softer, slower way of losing yourself. So dig in, not with clenched teeth and forced positivity, but with the quiet, stubborn focus of someone who has decided fully that retreat is no longer an option on the table. Let the work be hard. Let the mornings be uncomfortable. Let the doubt show up right on schedule, the way it always does, and greet it not with panic, but with familiarity. Oh, you again, and keep moving anyway. Because somewhere on the other side of this exact discomfort, in the future morning you can't yet picture clearly, there's a version of your life that finally matches the size of what you've always known you were capable of. And the only bridge between here and there is built one relentless, unglamorous rep at a time. Let's go deeper into the strategy, because raw effort without direction is just exhaustion with better marketing. You can grind for 10 years in the wrong direction and end up further from your goal than someone who walked calmly for 2 years in the right one. So, before you glorify the sweat, make sure the sweat is actually pointed at something. Every morning, before you touch a single task, ask yourself one brutal question. If I only get 1 hour of real focus today, what is the single thing that moves the needle the most? Not the easiest thing. Not the thing that feels productive because it clears your inbox and gives you a dopamine hit. The thing that actually matters. Most people confuse being busy with being effective, and they build entire identities around exhaustion while their actual goals sit untouched in the corner, gathering dust, patiently waiting for the day the busy work finally runs out, a day that conveniently never arrives. Strategy means protecting your first hour like it's the most valuable real estate you own, because it is. The version of you that exists at 6 in the morning, before the emails start flooding in, before your phone starts buzzing with other people's emergencies, before the world gets a chance to hijack your attention. That version of you has more clarity, more willpower, and more raw capacity for hard, meaningful work than the version of you that exists at 3 in the afternoon, depleted by 100. Small decisions nobody will remember making. Protect that hour as a bodyguard protects a client. Nobody gets access. Not notifications, not other people's requests, not your own temptation to just check one thing really quickly. That one thing always turns into 40 minutes. And 40 minutes is exactly the margin between the life you want and the life you keep almost building. Now let's talk about the specific texture of a hard season. Because resilience is easy to discuss and the abstract and brutal to actually live through. Picture the version of you 3 weeks into a new discipline when the initial excitement has completely evaporated and all that's left is the plain, unglamorous choice. Your body is tired in a way that sleep doesn't fully fix. Your mind keeps running a quiet campaign of doubt. Is this even working? Am I seeing any results? Maybe I should try something else. Maybe this isn't for me. This is exactly the moment strategy has to override emotion, because your emotions at this stage are not reliable narrators. They are reacting to short-term discomfort, not long-term data. The person who succeeds here isn't the one who feels confident. They're the one who has learned not to trust the doubt simply because it showed up loudly. Build yourself a non-negotiable minimum, a version of the work so small you could do it even on your worst day, even sick, even heartbroken, even utterly out of motivation, and protect that minimum with your life. Not the ideal version of the workout. The 5 minutes you can do even when everything you want to skip it entirely. Not the perfect, focused 2 hours of deep work. The 15 minutes you commit to even when your mind is scattered and your energy is at zero. Because the goal on the hardest days was never to perform at your peak. It was simply to keep the chain unbroken, to prove to yourself, again, that you are someone who shows up regardless of the weather inside your head. That unbroken chain, stretched across months, becomes the actual evidence your confidence is built on. Not pep talks, not affirmations, but a track record you built with your own 2 hands on the days nobody would have blamed you for stopping. There's a particular kind of quiet, private pride that comes from doing the work when the outcome is still invisible. You don't get to see the muscle before it's built. You don't get to see the manuscript before it's finished. You don't get to see the business before the revenue arrives. For a long, uncomfortable stretch, you are simply required to trust a process whose results haven't shown up yet. And that trust, built entirely on faith in your own consistency rather than proof from the outside world, is precisely the thing that separates people who eventually break through from people who quit exactly 1 week before the results would have finally become visible. Nobody tells you how close that week actually was, because by definition, the ones who quit never find out. Oh, here's a piece of strategy worth holding on to track effort, not just outcomes. Keep a record, written, physical, undeniable, of the mornings you showed up. Not to brag, not for anyone else to see, but so that on the day your motivation completely disappears, you have cold, hard evidence in front of you that you are someone who follows through, regardless of how you feel about it in the moment. Motivation is unreliable. Evidence is not. And when the doubt creeps back in, as it always will, you won't need to argue with it using hope. You'll be able to argue with it using proof. Understand something about pressure, because pressure is not your enemy. Mismanaged pressure is. The same pressure that crushes an unprepared person forges a diamond out of one who has trained it. The difference isn't the amount of pressure. It's the amount of preparation absorbed beforehand. This is why the disciplined mornings matter so much more than they appear to in the moment. They're not just building a habit. They're building a reservoir of readiness that you'll draw from the instant real pressure arrives, whether that's an opportunity you didn't expect or a crisis you didn't want. The person who trained quietly for years is the only one calm enough to perform when the actual test finally shows up, uninvited on an ordinary Tuesday that turns out to be anything but ordinary. When the test does arrive, and it will, Because life doesn't consult your calendar before sending its hardest moments. You will not rise to the occasion. That phrase is a comforting myth. You will fall to the level of your training. Whatever you rehearsed in silence, whatever you repeated when nobody was checking, whatever standard you held yourself to on the mornings that felt pointless, that is exactly the standard you will default to under real pressure. Because there is no time to suddenly become disciplined in the middle of a crisis. The discipline has to already be there, waiting, like a muscle memory built from 1,000 quiet repetitions that finally get their moment to matter. This is why the grind, unglamorous as it looks from the outside, is never actually wasted, even during the long stretches when nothing visible seems to be happening. Every rep, every early morning, every moment you chose the harder right thing over the easier wrong one, all of it is being stored quietly in the architecture of who you're becoming. And there will come a morning, sooner than you think, when everything you've been building in private collides with an opportunity in public. And in that exact moment, none of the excuses will matter anymore. None of the doubts will matter anymore. Only the preparation will. The only question left is whether you'll have done enough of it by the time that morning finally arrives.